Okay, so our infographic, so this is due week 14 again. I think it's the Wednesday of that final week. You will be given a couple days to hand that in late, but we have to have grades in. So unfortunately, there's not going to be a lot of leeway with this one. So prepare artwork for an infographic that visually dictates a social issue of your choice. Your topic and choice of work must be researched, approached, and presented in a professional manner. So researching your subject, you're going to create an infographic using at least 10 talking points. And it must be illustrated in a simplistic way using your own graphics. So no Procreate, vector only, Illustrator vector only. So your requirements, so a proposal describing the social issue. I want to know why you chose it, just because I'm nosy. And then any inspirational imagery that helps you convey your idea to me, or that will help you when you're actually creating this. So then, like I said, at least 10 talking points, a maximum of 15 that will depict your topic. So when you're creating your infographic, be sure to keep in mind you're not going to have a little graphic and then a whole ton of copy to go with it. You want to make sure that it's short and sweet, so 10 words max to describe them. I want to see your sources where you get your information. That doesn't have to be included on your infographic, but on your final presentation, that's where those sources will be. So when you're gathering your info, make sure you keep track of it. Illustrate your ideas, Illustrator only, full graphic on an artboard at least 7 by 11, and you're welcome to go up to 11 by 17, totally up to you. So again, they must be your own and have a cohesive look and feel. So I don't want to see, one kind of design style here and another one over here. It's an infographic especially. So unless you can do that very effectively, it should generally be quite simplistic and, have it not really, simplistic is probably not the right word, but it should have a cohesive look and feel. Illustrations should be understood without the copy. So you should be able to see it kind of and essentially get what it's saying, and that the graphics should speak for themselves, and then the copy is going to assist it. And then you have your final presentation. So first you're going to research your idea and start highlighting the main points that you think you want to cover. I'd go well above and beyond 10 at the beginning stages, and then at that stage you can start scaling back. If you just think of 10, then you're going to get down to illustrating and you're going to be like, oh, I don't really know. Maybe you might not know how to visually represent that or show that. So maybe you're like, okay, instead I'm going to use this graphic. Group your information in short and lengthy text. Finalize and write at least your 10 talking highlight points. Again, a maximum of 10 words each. Again, your graphics should depict your ideas effectively without copy and should be simply illustrated. Again, we need to think infographics. These are shared online. We don't have, we're not looking at artwork on the wall. Then give yourself a good sketch. Finalize and illustrate your 10 ideas. And then taking your 10 illustrations and build them into a full infographic. Again, at least 7 by 11 or 11 by 17. This is a kind of, not everyone will approach your infographic this way. So when I say illustrate your 10 ideas and then create, like a whole scenery type thing, that will be like if you specifically have 10 separate small graphics, and then you're not just going to plunk those 10 onto a paper, you're making it all a whole piece. Or you might have your 10 ideas and they all work together, as a whole anyway. So you don't need to take those too super literal. Then you're going to build your presentation. I do see a lot of presentations that essentially just takes my example presentation and then flung your own stuff in there. This should be yours. I want to see your style of presentation. So your original proposal, I'd like it to be kind of maybe designed a little nicely, instead of just plunking on your actual proposal. Maybe just lay your information out a little bit differently. Your final talking points, your sketches, any inspirational imagery, etc. And then you're going to hand your Illustrator file in and that PDF. That's it. So technically this isn't starting until week 10 or 11, but here we are now. So lots of time for us to go in and chat if you want. And yeah, it's due that Wednesday, the 16th. And again, just keep in mind if you have any friends that are quite typical of handing work in late, or if they're looking for extensions, we're not going to be able to do it on this final one because it is the final one. I'm not going to run through this because you guys can read and you may or may not find this valuable. This is just a little bit of information on Infographic. So just taking a few examples here, thinking essentially how infographics started and how simplistic they were, and how they were like globally understood by anyone. So anyone going to the airport, you could live in Australia, you can live in India, you all know that that's the damn airport, right? Or that's the way to the plane. So your infographic, they tell stories, they take you on a journey. They provide new angles. It gives valuable information. They're always well structured. I hope they are. They have a key message. Obviously, they should be visually appealing, and they're short and sweet for the most part, or effective ones are. So anyways, this is just going into those details a bit more. Some infographics, you kind of start with your big idea and then you have the endpoint. So maybe you're talking about, maybe it is climate change and you're talking about the problem and then you're talking about the solution and then the insides where all your little itty bits and pieces are going to go. New angle to convey your information, how you think information is most absorbed at a quick and easy way. Obviously, practical value, does it bring value to your audience? Does it inform them? Maybe it's something they're not aware of, a better understanding of, maybe it's something I don't know about. I hope it's something I don't know about. Always nicely structured. Sends a key message. If it's too complicated, you never know. This is too complicated. I don't want to look at that. So don't do something like that. Visually appealing, not visually appealing. This was, I always go and talk about this one as a really good example of effective ways of grouping your information. So this is, say, this takes 6 superheroes, 5 of their strengths or highlights, and then so now they've grouped each 6 of those, how all of those strengths or assets essentially, how this, say, hero, how this, on a kind of a scale of 1 to 10, a pie chart, but then it also goes through their tactics, their how much of a human they are, their swagger meter, this one's their greatest weakness. So it grouped the information well, but then also adds a few other bits and pieces. This technically does, as silly as it is, technically does give you a lot of information, but it's really laid out, I think, in a very, very good way. Gather, sketch, source, and color. Always really nice color. Obviously, we're designers. Again, I'm not going to go through any of this. You guys probably know a lot of that stuff. What can go wrong? Your numbers don't add up. That's a huge thing. So if you happen to use like charts or graphs or pie charts, if you have 90% of one pie, you can't have 50% of another pie, right? So 50% of the time it works every time. You don't want that. Wrong visual for your information, inaccurate visual linking to numbers. So too much information, it's hard to understand. You're like, I don't know where to look. It's not organized enough. Again, poor titles and improper use of proximity. And then there's just a few little examples in here that I liked, that I think are interesting. I think they have a good, decent amount of information. This doesn't have an actual information, but I kind of like the way this was laid out. So just a few reference points. You guys can most certainly do your own research.